Welcome. My name is Helen Fischer. I am currently a guest researcher at the Max Planck Institute for Human Development in Berlin. And this is submission number 83 with the title Knowing What You Know in the Age of Misinformation, a Metacognitive Perspective on Politicized Science. So I was looking for examples of misinformation that citizens encounter in the area of politicized science, that is science where the facts have become political, such as climate change, or for a more recent example, COVID-19. And what I stumbled across is this, what appears to be a Fox News headline saying, while the world is waiting for a vaccine, one mom has found a solution to fight back against the coronavirus outbreak. I thought, well, this is most likely fake news. I don't think this one mom had truly found a solution against the coronavirus outbreak, but who knows? Let's make sure, let's do a little background check. So I did. Turned out, this is not a Fox News headline. Rather, it's just an ad that was spread in news groups and that tried to lure people into buying some kind of wonder oil that supposedly works against the coronavirus. And this is symptomatic for the type of information that citizens encounter with respect to politicized science. We have the whole spectrum of truth and falsehood and everything in between. We have scientifically accurate information. We have information that has a true core, but that was spun or decontextualized to make it misleading. And we have false information that was simply fabricated like this one. Now, this type of misinformation doesn't only just occur, it's also partially purposefully spread by political actors. Steve Bannon in particular coined the term of the zone flooding philosophy when he said, the Democrats don't matter, the real opposition is the media and the way to deal with them is to flood the zone with shit. Where the idea behind the zone flooding philosophy is not so much to convince citizens of falsehood, but more to create a sufficient level of confusion. And the question that intrigues me is, how do citizens form beliefs in this noisy information environment? Where with noisy, I mean that for each and every single piece of information that citizens encounter, its truth value can be highly uncertain. So suppose you have this person here, and this person is confronted with a claim such as climate change is mainly caused by a variation in sunbeam. Now, how could this person assess the veracity of that claim? Well, first of all, he or she could use their knowledge, such as greenhouse gas increases driven by humans. So he or she might have heard something about this and use this knowledge to assess the veracity of that claim. This type of knowledge is object-level knowledge about the external world, in this case climate change. But this person could also use a different type of knowledge, namely meta-knowledge, knowledge about own knowledge. Meta-knowledge manifests itself in confidence in the validity of own knowledge, but also in the form of an insight into the limits of own knowledge. So meta-knowledge means being able to say, this is something I know, here's the demarcation line, this is something I don't know anymore, this is mere guesswork. And both can vary in accuracy. So object level varies in accuracy as a function of its correspondence with the external world. Meta-knowledge varies in accuracy as a function of the correspondence of confidence with the accuracy of knowledge. So meta-knowledge has high accuracy when we have high confidence in knowledge that is accurate and low confidence in knowledge that is inaccurate. Meta-knowledge has low accuracy in contrast when we have high confidence in knowledge that is completely bogus and low confidence in knowledge that is, as a matter of fact, accurate. What I would like to present you in this talk is evidence for 4 claims. Namely, first, citizens are metacognitively confused about climate change and more so than about non-politicized science. Second, meta-knowledge predicts beliefs about politicized science. Third, accuracy of meta-knowledge predicts behavior. And fourth, metacognitive confusion is larger for climate change compared to COVID-19. So first of all, what we wanted to find out is the accuracy of citizens' meta-knowledge with respect to climate change. That is, how good are citizens at indicating what they know and what they don't know about climate change. We did that by presenting citizens with statements about climate change that were either true or false and asked them to verify these statements, that is, to indicate whether they are true or false. And these statements came from the knowledge domains of state causes and consequences of climate change. And just to give you some example, that would be something like the global change in temperature in the past 100 years is the largest during the past 1,000 years. And then critically, we also asked citizens to indicate how certain they are that their answer is correct on a scale from 50%, not at all certain, I was guessing, to 100% certain, I know the answer. And we compared this with their knowledge and their confidence in their knowledge about general, non-politicized science. And these were also true and false statements taken from the National Science Board Science and Engineering Indicators, that are statements about biology and physics, such as lasers work by focusing sound waves, or electrons are smaller than atoms. So statements about general science without any big political contestation. What we found is this. So first, the graph on the left shows you the accuracy with which citizens verified the statements about climate change and the confidence with which they did so. But the main result is the graph on the right. This shows you the M ratio, which is metacognitive accuracy controlling for knowledge. So how well were citizens able to say what they know and what they don't know at one particular level of knowledge? What we found is that when it comes to general science knowledge, so biology and physics, citizens were very well able to say what they know and what they didn't know. In fact, they were pretty close to perfect. This doesn't mean that they knew everything about biology and physics, far from it, but they were able to say what the parts they didn't know. So for example, they were able to say, I'm not so good with lasers, I'm not so good with electrons, and then in fact they also weren't. When it comes to climate change, however, the pattern looks dramatically different because citizens were alarmingly poor at indicating what they knew and what they didn't know, and remember, at one particular level of their knowledge. Why does that matter? Well, it matters for two reasons. First of all, it matters because it suggests that the information environment of climate change may be more confusing and may be noisier compared to the information environment of non-politicized science. But it also matters for beliefs. What we did is we asked the same people, so this is not a new sample, it's the same people. We asked them about their beliefs about climate change, namely their beliefs about whether climate change is risky and their beliefs about whether climate change is anthropogenic, caused by humans. And as you can see here, the further right participants were, in their political attitude, the less likely they were to indicate that climate change is risky, and the less likely they were to indicate that climate change is anthropogenic, demonstrated that climate change is, in fact, politicized in the German population. But more importantly, as you can see here, controlling for their political orientation and controlling for the accuracy of their climate change knowledge and controlling for all the demographic variables that you can see here, the meta-knowledge, that is the confidence that citizens had in their knowledge, still predicted their belief. It predicted their belief about the risks of climate change, and it predicted their beliefs in terms of the anthropogenicity of climate change. In the next study, we wanted to know whether meta-knowledge also predicts behavior, and we did this in the area of COVID-19. So we presented citizens with true and false statements about COVID-19, very much like the previous studies where we did it in relation to climate change. So the true statements are indicated in yellow, the false statements are indicated in yellow, and these are something like the new 5G network may be making us more susceptible to the virus, or the coronavirus is part of a global effort to enhance mandatory vaccination. And the true statements in green are something like, people with diabetes are at high risk of complications from coronavirus infection, or people may be infectious 2 days prior to showing symptoms. And as you can see here, by and large, German citizens were well informed about COVID. They were way more likely to say that a true statement is true compared to false, and they were way more likely to say that a false statement is false compared to true. And as you can also see in the scatter plot on the right, the accuracy of their beliefs predicted compliance. So compliance was their compliance with typical public health measures that we all know, such as wearing a face mask or keeping physical distance. So this is interesting and relevant because it shows that it's important for citizens to be well informed, but it's also not new. Other research has shown before that the accuracy of COVID beliefs correlates with compliance. Now for the exciting part, because, as I said, we also measured citizens' confidence in their answer, allowing us to assess their M ratio, that is the accuracy with which citizens could indicate what exactly they know and what exactly they don't know about COVID. And as you can see here, controlling for the accuracy of their beliefs, controlling for their political orientation, gender, age, and education, the M ratio, that is their metacognitive accuracy, still predicted their compliance. Meaning that at one particular level of absolute accuracy of their beliefs, being able to say what exactly they knew and what they didn't know still predicted higher compliance. Now at this stage you may wonder where the M ratio of COVID-19 ranges in relation to climate change and non-politicized science. So this is the graph I had shown you before. We did 2 studies assessing the M ratio, that is the metacognitive accuracy controlling for knowledge, with COVID-19. And both of them, they varied a little, but both of them ranged between climate change and non-politicized science. So the M ratio is the lowest for climate change, followed by COVID, which is higher than climate change, but lower than non-politicized science. Which may suggest that the information environment of climate change is still noisier compared to COVID-19, even though COVID-19 appears to be noisier than non-politicized science. To conclude, misinformation about politicized science shows metacognitive confusion. Metacognitive confusion is larger for climate change compared to COVID-19, and both are larger than for non-politicized science. However, metacognitive confusion matters, and it matters for beliefs and behavior, and it matters above and beyond the accuracy of object-level knowledge. And that is, increasing metacognitive accuracy may provide a novel and promising means to address the societal impact of misinformation. Thank you.